Welcome back to the Playbook. I'm John Suder, and today I want to talk about a question that is everywhere right now. Every LinkedIn post, every conference panel, every newsletter, someone is asking, which jobs will AI take? This is my co-host, Bart Mroz. Bart, you wrote something last week that stopped me cold. You said, this is the wrong question. So let's start there. Why is this the wrong question?
Because the way people are trying to answer it has a bad track record. There's a whole bunch of approach. You could call it the exposure to AI model. Basically, you list every task a job involves, then you ask, can AI do this task? If yes, the job is at risk. It sounds logical. The problem is that when you test it against real history, it falls apart.
You were referencing some research on that. It was Benedict Evans, I believe. Benedict Arnold.
Yeah. I was reading that. Benedict Evans is an analyst I really like. He went back and tested these models against what actually happened with the past waves of automation. And the results are pretty humbling.
All right, give me an example.
So take accounting. We spend 50 years building tools to automate what accountants do. Spreadsheets, software, cloud systems. Half the tech industry was built on it. And what happened to the number of accountants?
The number of accountants went up.
More accountants now than ever before.
So the model said the job was at risk, and quite the opposite happened.
Exactly. Because the model looks at task. It doesn't look at what the job is actually for. The judgment, the whole thing, right? The judgment and advice, the shouldn't sit around the task. Automate the task, and people just do more of the thing that the task was blocking.
Okay, so accounting is one example. What else did Evans look at?
Journalism. Just kind of interesting. Journalism is one of the real that hit me when we looked at it, and it's true, right? Everyone said the internet would gut journalists, and in a way it did, but not for the reason the model predicted.
What exactly do you mean by that?
The internet didn't make journalism bad or jobs. It didn't replace them with software. What it did was destroy the business model that paid for journalism, classify ads, right? Yeah. That was the revenue base for most local papers. And I took that. When the money went away, the jobs went away. Not because the work was eliminated, because the business model under that work collapsed.
All right, so the job was fine. It's the thing funding the job got killed.
Yeah, right? And nobody put taxi drivers on any internet disruption in less than 1995. Not one analyst. And yeah, Uber.
Yeah, that came from somewhere nobody was looking.
That's the point. The risk didn't come from the internet making driving easier. It came from a new business model that no one predicted. The exposure model missed that completely.
So are we making the same mistake with AI now?
I think a lot of people are. They're looking at text. Can I write a copy? Yes. Can I build media plan? Yes. Can I design a slide? Kind of. So, I mean, pretty good actually. Yeah. So they put agencies on the risk list, but that's looking at the wrong thing.
All right. So let's bring this to the people that are listening. Agency founders, most of them running firms in the 1 to 10 million range. What should they actually be thinking about when it comes to this?
Two bits. And they're just very different risks. The first one is the one everybody's talking about. Your clients look at what you produce, the copy, the campaigns, the slides, and they think, AI can do that, so maybe they don't need us. That's the real concern. But I think it's the smaller one.
Why smaller? Why do you say smaller?
Because what a good agency actually sells is not output. It's the judgment behind it. It's knowing which campaign to run, when you have 3 options on a budget. It's being the person who owns it when something goes wrong, doesn't show up in any exposure model. You can't automate that accountability. Also, saying in other words, where it's commented was, you can give me a hammer and jackhammer to anybody, right? But knowing how to use it and when to use it is the most important thing.
Sure. Teach a man to fish. Fool me once, shame on you. I've heard clients say that, though. We can just use AI for this now. I hear it all the time. How do you respond to that?
I say they're looking at the wrong thing. They're looking at the outputs. We hand them. But what they're actually paying for is someone who will fight for the right answer and own the result, not the prompt.
That's beautiful. Okay, so that's risk number one. You think that's manageable. What is risk number two?
This one is the one I don't think agencies are ready for, and it comes straight from the journalist story. Your agency might not get hurt because AI can do your work. It might get hurt because AI destroys your clients' business models. And then they can no longer afford you.
All right, let's get more into that.
Think about your clients. What do they sell? Who are their customers? If AI-driven tools come in and cut prices in their market or automate something their buyers used to pay for, your clients' revenue goes down. What already goes down, first thing most companies cut is outside spend, back the agency.
So it's not really about what AI does to your agency. It's about what AI does to your client.
That is the actual risk. And most agencies are not having that conversation.
You put a test in your post, which I thought was really sharp. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. Simple test. Think about your top 3 clients. Now imagine AI-driven competition cuts their revenue in half over the next 2 years. What is the first thing each of them cuts?
Marketing.
That's right. That's a good answer, right? But if your retainers on that list, if you're clearly nice to have in their budget, not a core part of how they grow, that is a conversation you need to be having. Not about AI doing a job, but about AI is doing the two layers.
Yeah, that really reframes the whole thing. It's not competitive threat to the agency. It's actually a client health question, right?
Exactly. And founders should start treating it that way. Now are going to be in a much better spot because they'll be the advisor who saw it coming, not the brand who got cut.
So what does that actually look like, having that tough AI conversation with a client?
As always, yes, I repeatedly challenge because it's very important and people don't listen to me sometimes when this happens. They think it's all that. But you going curious, not alarmed every time. Be curious. You asked, what's changing in your market? Where's AI showing up on your company's side? What are your buyers doing differently? You're not trying to scare them. You're trying to assert their risk as you can help them move. The agencies that do this become harder to cut because now they're not just running campaigns. They're thinking about the client, about the business is going. And that should have been your whole operational thing all the time since the start.
All right. So the moral of the story is be the strategic partner, not the production vendor. You're paying for thinking. You're not paying for the output. You're not paying for the actual slides. You're paying for the thought that went into it, the campaigns, the advertising, everything. You're a strategic partner.
Correct. And I'm going to make it a little simpler. I repeat myself. That's always been the difference between agencies that grow and agencies that don't. AI just makes it more obvious.
So AI, I guess, is kind of stripped that all away. Honestly, this has changed how I think about the whole AI conversation. And I'm going to take some of this thinking back and use it in my own day to day. For everyone listening, if this hits home, go read Bart's fit post on LinkedIn. It's in the show notes. And if you're not on the Playbook newsletter yet, that's where we break this stuff down every Tuesday. Link is in there too. Finally, if you know a founder who's still wondering what AI is going to do to the business, send them this one. It might be the conversation they need to have with themselves and their clients. Bart, any closing thoughts?
Be curious, my friends.
Be curious. I like that. All right. Thanks, Bart.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you next week. The Playbook podcast is produced by Agency Focus. New episodes every week. Subscribe wherever you listen and find the newsletter at playbook.agencyfocus.xyz. And if that's too long to remember, again, the links are in the show notes. See you next week.
See you.
What do you do now,